Former UAB head coach Trent Dilfer made some very, very interesting comments about the transfer portal during his time at UAB and how he approached it year after year during the 3 years that he had to evaluate the transfer portal and see what he had to bring in. He called them leftovers. What does he mean by that? And I'm going to give you my honest opinion about what he had to say. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Southern Sports Scene here on YouTube. You can find us on X. Make sure that you all do us a favor as well. Hit the like and share. Make sure you share to all those friend groups. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification so that you are notified every time we post a new video, short or live show here on the Southern Sports Scene. We want to thank, as always, to our friends at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use our promo code SSS15 to get 15% off of all cups, mugs, tumblers, whatever it is that you want to fill your beverage up with. Use code SSS15 to get 15% off. Also, thank you to our friends at Chike Nutrition. With 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, and 1 gram of sugar, you can get your day started every day with a piping fresh, whether it be you want a hot cup of coffee or an iced coffee, mix it in and get a healthy, hearty start to your day. Trent Dilfer went on Outkick Hot Mic, and I got to say, these were some interesting comments that he made, and we're going to give our honest reaction to what he had to say. So listen in.
And if I were to do it all over again, I would have just stuck with high school, had 1 or 2 year players, and lost them and been a 500 football team.
It still wouldn't have been enough to keep you at UAB. I mean, you're talking about a team that whenever Trent Dilfer took over, they were averaging about 8 or 9 wins a year. I mean, how long do you think that UAB fans, especially now that you moved from the CUSA in 22 to the American Conference in 2023, how much do you think they could have accepted 6-6 seasons over and over and over again? I don't think they would. Just my personal opinion.
Because when you go in the portal for leftovers, that's what you get. They're good kids. They're looking for an opportunity, but there's a reason why it didn't work at their last school if they're coming to UAB. There's usually a competitive piece to it. It's not a traits thing. We had some tradey kids. In fact, we'd go play Tulane, and John would say, hey, you got a good-looking team. I'm like, yeah, but wait till this thing gets hard.
So, but that also comes back to coaching. I don't think that Trent Dilfer is being honest with himself when he's describing this situation. The fact of the matter is that his ego is going to get the best of him at the end of the day. He didn't put his guys into a position to where they can consistently win like they were during the Bill Clark era when they were winning 11 games in a season. They're not. Even Troy, they didn't have this type of struggle. They got leftovers from the portal. Jacksonville State got leftovers from the portal. Every mid-major conference school is going to get leftovers from the portal. That's the reality of it. But it is how you develop the dudes that's going to make a difference at the end of the day. Trent Dilfer did not develop whatsoever. He didn't hire the best staff to develop dudes at the next level. Me personally, man, I don't think he was hardly ever involved in the transfer portal. I don't think so. I don't think he was ever really involved with recruiting. I mean, he's a former high school football coach. But God, he's got to know that there's a lot that comes to recruiting at that next level. Whether it be through high school, whether it be through the portal, you've got to surround yourself with a great support staff, from each position coach to your recruiting staff to your in-house personnel that you have. You've got to surround yourself with like-minded dudes that have the same goal. And I'm sure they did initially. But I think once things started to get off the rails, I think Trent Dilfer was checked out.
And see how they respond. And that's where the personal fouls and the lack of discipline and missed assignments and drop balls and bad reads, because from a competitive temperament standpoint, there's a reason why they didn't make it at Maryland or Georgia Tech or wherever we're getting them from.
Because it's on you too. You've got to develop that into their minds. You are putting this off as a player problem and not a coach problem. Maybe if you look in the mirror and tell yourself, maybe I'm the freaking problem at the end of the day, that could be a better solution than going on a podcast like this where you know there's a good bit of people that's going to listen to it and you make an ass out of yourself and say these things. You're not helping your case. If you are a UAB fan, and guys, I'm not saying that I'm a UAB fan, but I am a college football analyst who's analyzed UAB over the last year and a half. If you know who Scout is, who comes on our show every now and then, he's open and honest. He's a big UAB guy. He's been around UAB. He knows what goes on there. It was lazy. It was absolutely lazy how poorly that team was set up to try and succeed with a coach who's going to throw dudes under the bus, who makes an ass out of himself on the sidelines. We've seen it time and time again, and it just continues to show.
Because when it gets hard, a really good player rises.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of the sideline outbursts, what about when you exemplify that? Whenever you get on the headset and you get on one of your staff members, whether it be a position coach or coordinator, and you yell at them through the mic on your headset, what does that exemplify? What kind of example are you setting for dudes? Pretty common sense.
Our players shrunk, and that was the thing in 3 years, is just watching. Unfortunately, because I love these kids and that got really good relationships with them, but just watch them shrink and remembering when I was a player what that felt like and fighting through that and becoming a riser as a player instead of a shrinker as a.
Okay, well then do that. How about next time you could have done that, or even before, you could have learned from that. And you could have showed them, hey, this is how you overcome adversity. But instead, you act like an ass on the sideline.
The player. But when you have a team of shrinkers, like, you got no chance.
The excuses continue for him. It has been excuse after excuse after excuse that we've heard from Trent Dilfer over the last year and a half. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. In the years prior to whenever he took over from when Bryant Vincent became the interim head coach in 2022, even between him and Bill Clark, that was a team that was averaging 8 wins a season. 8 wins a season. They were really freaking good, and they had a lot of things going for them. They were participants in a couple of CUSA title games, won 9 games back 2 years, won 11 games in 2018. They averaged, but their golden years were between 2017 and 2022. And if you want me to be honest with you, I think that you could have gotten a lot more if some things went your way.